felt him. I've experienced him. And when you encounter God, you know it's him. It can't be anything else. I would make such claims while trying to defend my faith at my predominantly secular school. Being one of the only Christians, it was really hard to get my point across, especially since I was using nothing but feeling and emotion. Me being a very right-brained, emotionally driven person, these claims did not seem to persuade others. They would ask me, okay, if you're right, then tell me why I'm wrong. Why is Rousseau's philosophies wrong? Why are Nietzsche's claims wrong? And I would look at them and my face would turn red and I'd go, who? Who are these people? This brings me to my topic. Why Christians should study other worldviews. Christians should study other worldviews, philosophies, and religions in order to exemplify the virtue of listening to better dispute these worldviews, and so that those outside of the church will be more likely to accept the biblical truths. First and foremost, Christians should study other philosophies, religions, in order to exemplify the virtue of listening. Many secularists stereotype Christians as being closed-minded and having tunnel vision. Perhaps there's sadly some truth to this stereotype. Christians often tune out other philosophical ideas because they are afraid that they will keep them captive. The virtue of being willing to listen and understand others illustrates a very Christ-like quality. As James 1:19 from the New International Version of the Bible states, "My dear brothers, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry." Those outside of the church are people. They're not just check marks on our conversion list, and they want to be listened to, and they want to be cared for. Furthermore, Christians should study other philosophies, religions, and worldviews in order to better dispute them. How can an individual proclaim that a certain worldview is false if they cannot even explain why? It is important for Christians to study secular philosophies and other religions so that they will not be ignorant to the specific faults in these point of views. For example, 1 Peter 3:15 from the NIV explains that Christians should always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have, but do this with gentleness and respect. CalBaptist.com would agree. It is extremely helpful to become acquainted with major philosophers, upon whom so many unbelievers rely on for their refusal to investigate the claims of Christianity. Being prepared to make a formal apology for Christianity by drawing upon these very sources, inviting unbelievers to consider the parallels between their philosophers and other doctrines, can open dialogues with those who might otherwise not be reached. That was said in 1997, and things have not much changed. Likewise, it is important for Christians to have clarity of the similarities between other worldviews and their own. In addition, Christians should be humble and realize that nobody can ever know enough. There is something to learn from everyone, every idea, and every experience that crosses the path that God puts before you. Daniel W. Stubik, the professor of law, ethics, and humanities at California Baptist University, would agree. But if there is truly one God and only one truth, Christians should not fear philosophical and scientific investigation of the world around us. All truth comes from the Father of lights. So we should not be surprised that others, like those philosophers, seeking after truth in the pre-Christian era, have insights which parallel or can help supplement for our own biblically informed theological investigations. God is gracious to those even who do not believe in him or don't even have the right God. I believe that even Plato had some insight to Christianity, even though he didn't even know it. Consequently, non-believers will be more likely to accept biblical truths. An individual will open up to somebody who speaks through language, understands them, has listened to them, and is able to point out the flaws of their position with respect, valid reasoning, and credibility. Why is it so important to reach these individuals? The Pew Forum on Religion and Public Life, updated this year, 2010, says that 78.4% of America claim to be of the Christian faith. That seems like a lot when you just see the percentage. But according to the U.S. Census Bureau, there are 310,687,612 people in the U.S. If 78.4% of that claims to be Christian, then 21.6% do not. Therefore, an estimated amount of 67,108,525 people in the U.S. alone are not of the Christian faith. And this, of course, includes the questionable Mormon religion and Jehovah's Witness. Not only that, but within that Christian percentage, who's to say that they're not just religious or were not just brought up to be Christian, but actually aren't. Again, this is not just the USA alone. The numbers are much higher in the rest of the world, and these are the only people we have accounted for. In order to even be considered on a census, you have to, of course, have a home. So all of the impoverished people in America aren't even being reached. For the rest, well, who else can judge their salvation other than God himself? This is a lot, an abundant amount of lost souls. To sum it up, if we as Christians study other philosophies and religions, then we will exemplify the Christ-like virtue of listening and have logical evidence against other worldviews. Thus, those outside of the church will be persuaded to accept these truths. However, make sure Scripture always has the final say in what you do, either accept or deny from other perspectives. Paul explains this in Colossians 2:8. See to it that no one takes you captive through a hollow, deceptive philosophy, which depends on human tradition and the elements and spiritual forces of this world rather than on Christ. Call to action. I encourage you as Christians to study a plethora of other religions and philosophies, as well as Christianity. Thank you.